from everywhere USA. It's Fox Across America with Jimmy Fallon.
Oh, girl, here we go. Here we go. Coming to you live from the greatest country in the world, broadcasting from the tippy top of the world-famous Fox News headquarters in New York City. A man who did not spend last night holding up a paddle at the State of the Union address.
That was a hot mess inside a dumpster fire, inside a train wreck.
Oh, well, the Democrats might have cheered for the train wreck. They didn't cheer for anything else. It was a really embarrassing performance that illustrates the divide between what voters prioritize in their lives and what Democrats and their allies in the media think is worth fighting for and supporting. It was a very teachable moment, but more than anything else, I mean...
That was embarrassing.
Just an embarrassing night for the Democratic Party and everybody who supports them. We'll get into it in this hour with the goal being a constructive conversation. Like, we're actually not here to attack the Democrats. If anything, we'd like to give them some help and point them in a better direction, because the country thrives when we have two parties that people take seriously. But do we have that right now?
The answer would be no.
The answer would be no. Even Barack Obama would have to say so. 888-788-9910 if you want a piece of this action. But man, I am in a loopy mood, so I'm warning you now. The rules are the same every day. I say it every day when we get on the air. Don't care if you agree. Don't care if you disagree. It'd almost be a good day to get Democrats on the phone and try to help them out, because, it really was a disaster. But either way you slice it, be a Republican, be a Democrat. Just don't be a bang. Happy Wednesday. I got to be honest, I don't know where to start. Trump spoke for an hour and 40 minutes. He crushed it. He got a lot of laughs. There was phenomenal showmanship with the things he chose to highlight, like the wonderful 11-year-old boy who's battling brain cancer, or 13-year-old boy who's battling brain cancer, who was made a Secret Service agent. Really great moment, unless you're a Democrat, okay? Fighting for the protection of women's sports, really great moment unless you're a Democrat, okay? Naming a nature preserve in honor of Jocelyn Nungree's mom, again, really great moment if you're a Democrat. Okay, talking about the passage of the Laken Riley Act, a woman who was murdered by a migrant in this country illegally. Again, a really great moment if you are a Democrat.
They're crazy.
I don't know if they're crazy, but I do think they're stupid in this moment, and that they have no ability to pick their battles, and they've done a really poor job of picking strategists. Because what you're going to find over the course of the next 3 hours as we unpack this thing, and I'll play some of the clips, some of the media analysis and everything in between, is that even on CBS, which is a network who is being sued for deceptively editing a Kamala Harris interview to make her look better, CBS, a show that is the source of great mockery, 60 Minutes, because they wouldn't let Trump talk about Hunter Biden's laptop during the 2020 election because they're that much of a partisan propaganda machine. That's CBS. Their viewers at CBS, okay, 76% of them approved of Donald Trump's speech. So what does that mean to you? It means if you like Trump's speech, you're like most of America. Okay, but if you condemned Trump's speech, you're either a, partisan hack who works in media, or you are one of the Democratic Congress people who doesn't want to believe you just wasted millions of dollars in strategy money on some idiot that made you show up to the State of the Union with a pickleball paddle in your hand, whatever the hell we're calling this. Okay, it was a joint address to Congress, to be clear. And apparently the Democrats thought that meant you should sit there frozen like you had just smoked a massive joint. I don't know how else to have this conversation with you. But lo and behold, okay, somebody, and this is the part that keeps coming back to me. We can trash the Democrats, we can talk about the individual moments, but what keeps coming back to me is I watched it last night, and it was like, they paid for this. Like, they got together, and somebody was like, I've got it. Whatever this guy says, nothing. Like, we're not going to cheer. We're not going to pick our battles. We're not going to show the American people that we do have some of the same shared values that they do. No, ma'am. He says it. Forget it. We are not. If Trump says every kid in America gets a free puppy, not us. No. We're going to kill the puppies. That's just the way it's going to go. It's going to. So, just the way it's going to have to be. What is he giving away? He's giving away, everybody gets $1 million And they're going to get a visit from the Swedish bikini team.
Hubba, hubba.
No, we don't like money. We don't like boobs. It was like the dumbest thing I've ever seen. They unilaterally decided to oppose everything he did. And I just want to talk about that before we get into the clips and laugh and react and everything in between, because there was so many good moments. Trump got laughs, okay, when he brought up the Ukraine war and he called Elizabeth Warren Pocahontas to her face. That was great. I loved it. Obviously, the Al Green walkout was a humiliation for him and his party. Guys, if someone's going to speak for an hour and 40 minutes and you get up and walk out in the first two, okay, no one's going to remember it ever happened.
I think he's got a point.
Like, in terms of strategy, yes, we know that it happened, but was it significant? No. And another note there, Democrats, if you're going to tell me you're the party of the youth, then don't start your big piece de resistance with an old man shaking his cane and then pivot to everybody holding bingo panels, okay? It was a bad look for your party, but nothing looked worse than that ritual defiance of everything that came out of Trump's mouth, because you couldn't watch that objectively and go, wow, I at least have like some shared values with these people. You know how we're always told, oh, what unites us is greater than what divides us. I don't know if that's the case. If you're going to refuse to applaud childhood cancer survivors, okay, that should unite us. Protecting women's sports on a night every Democrat showed up in pink to show their support of women, which, oh, by the way, happened the day after every single Democrat voted against protecting women's sports.
Democrats are so full of crap.
And that's the point, is they looked so disingenuous because there were things Trump were doing that deep down they have to agree with. You can't think it's okay that migrants are murdering joggers like Lake and Riley. I don't want to believe that you think that's okay. But the fact that this was your forward-facing posture to the world and that you weren't going to clap for that because you weren't going to be seen co-signing any word that came out of Donald Trump's mouth shows you to be petulant. It shows you to be beyond your depth emotionally and intellectually because there was an inability to pick values. Like if you're the Democrats, right? And you know, you're losing right now. You are losing. Okay, Trump's policies are wildly popular. His speech was wildly popular. The issues he highlighted the heaviest are 80-20 issues. Kicking biological men out of women's sports, 80-20 issue. 80% support him. Okay, securing the border, kicking out the illegal murderers who have deportation warrants, 80-20 issue. 80% support him. So what you're supposed to do on 80-20 issues where you're losing, okay, is if you respect democracy and the will of the people, okay, you applaud the moments where the people are getting what they want. Okay, now if there is an issue that you value, if there's something near and dear to your heart, that's where your whole party's supposed to dig in and do the stunt. The stunt being, hey, not on this issue, we're going to yell and scream and heckle. But if it's just going to be a blanket opposition that everything that comes out of his mouth in an effort to make him look bad, okay, the only person who looks bad is you.
Bingo, man, bingo.
Okay, so understand, moments where Trump was getting laughs. If he's getting laughs in the chamber, you know what that means? That means he's getting laughs at home. Okay, if he's getting big applause in the chamber, that means 90% of the time the people at home are applauding too. If you're in opposition of that moment, you look out of touch with the electorate. That's why it was so fascinating, like especially CBS, to hear people come on afterwards and be like, that was a bad speech. It was a horrible speech. It was dystopian. It was divisive. Let's see what the viewers thought. And the viewers are like, we loved it. We thought it was great. So I genuinely don't have a place I want to start. 76% said they approved of the address, with 23% saying they didn't. 68% said the speech made them feel hopeful. 54% said the speech made them feel proud. Okay, that's where the majority is. 27% said the address made them feel worried. 16% said it made them feel angry. And who are those people? They're Democrats that get angry no matter what you say to them. How you doing? You know, Hitler said, how you doing? What does that mean? You're going to round us up and kill us? How you doing? That's who these people are. And they exposed themselves to be that. And it was just such a bad moment for their party. Okay, it's a good moment for the country. But I'm telling you this in theory, okay, I voted for Trump. I support his policies. It's not good for the country if the Democrats consistently poll where they are right now, which is 21%. 21%. Okay? Blake Lively has a higher approval rating with Justin Baldoni than the Democrats do with the American electorate right now. 21% means your party doesn't like you either. Okay, that can't be every Republican hates you and you're coming in at 20%. If every Republican votes no and every Democrat votes yes, you wind up at 50% approval rating. Okay, by my community math standards, that means you're polling below 50% even with the Democrats in your own party.
That's true. That is true.
Okay, and one of the reasons why is it comes back to this basic default position. The Democrats do not believe in this democracy that the customer is always right. They don't believe that. Trump is fighting for exactly what he campaigned on. We're going to get rid of the waste, fraud, and abuse in the government. We're going to secure the border. We're going to end the forever wars so you're not paying for them for the rest of our lives. We're going to cut your taxes. We're going to jumpstart the economy by slashing regulation and making it a more business-friendly climate. I'm bringing in Elon Musk to help with all of this. This is what he ran on, okay? And he won with an overwhelming mandate. Got all the swing states, got the popular vote. So the fact that the Democrats are there and they're not acknowledging the preference of the customer believes they don't actually respect democracy. Okay, when I was a New York City cab driver, if somebody got into my cab and said, I'm going up to 83rd and 5th, I didn't turn around and go, no, forget all that. You should try 23rd and 10th. The guy would be like, I'm getting out of this cab. That doesn't even make sense. I just told you where I want to go. Okay, the Democrats are being told where the customer wants to go, and they're just flat out ignoring them.
That's not right.
It's not right at all. So let me give you some of this, because I'll tell you what the highlights were for me, and there's plenty of laughs, and there's plenty of stuff in between. But in terms of the fundamental execution, highlighting where the government wastes their money, brilliant, because the whole world was watching, and it's, again, an 80-20 issue. Telling little kids they're not trapped in the wrong body, brilliant. Great place to start. Listen to this clip from Trump to the little kids, and mind you, no Democrat applauds. Clip 4.
I also signed an order to cut off all taxpayer funding to any institution that engages in the sexual mutilation of our youth. And now I want Congress to pass a bill permanently banning and criminalizing sex changes on children and forever ending the lie that any child is trapped in the wrong body. This is a big lie. And our message to every child in America is that you are perfect exactly the way God made you.
Regular round of applause here as well. Because it's the truth. It is barbaric and it is abusive to tell kids they're trapped in the wrong body. Now, I understand there are people in that room who adhere to that ideology, and there's a lot of people, just so you understand, the transgender kid thing was a fad. It didn't exist 5 years ago. It won't exist 5 years from now. But the people who bought into the fad and legitimately butchered their children in the name of this ideology, convince your kid he's trapped in the wrong body, commit him to an irreversible surgery that will subject him to a lifelong routine of follow-ups and necessary medications just to live. Okay, you don't want to believe you were wrong about that if you were a parent. So I don't doubt there are a lot of parents that are never going to be able to accept that to themselves. And listen, I don't agree with it, but I get that it's a thing. And for some people, they can't applaud that. But you know what? What if it's just a kid who wasn't trans? It's just a little boy battling cancer who gets made to be a deputy, okay, or at least an honorary CIA agent. In DJ Daniels' case, can the Democrats actually, I don't know, maybe show some support for that? This is the moment everybody's talking about. Clip 12.
I am asking our new Secret Service Director, Sean Curran, to officially make you an agent of the United States Secret Service.
So they're going nuts. The kid's getting held up by his dad. He's a Secret Service agent now. This is a kid that's had over a dozen surgeries for his brain cancer. And the kid is like a living angel. If you hear him talk about how he's going to keep going until there's no more fuel in the tank. There's a little kid saying this who wanted to be a cop. They made him a Secret Service agent. It's an honorary Secret Service agent. Doesn't get a word out of Democrats for that. You have to know how bad those optics are. Okay, but they didn't care. So much so that Trump told them at the beginning of the speech how this was going to go. And all they did was sit there and confirm his suspicion. Clip 6.
This is my fifth such speech to Congress. And once again, I look at the Democrats in front of me, and I realize there is absolutely nothing I can say to make them happy or to make them stand or smile or applaud. Nothing I can do. I could find a cure to the most devastating disease, a disease that would wipe out entire nations, or announce the answers to the greatest economy in history or the stoppage of crime to the lowest levels ever recorded. And these people sitting right here will not clap, will not stand, and certainly will not cheer for these astronomical achievements.
And he wasn't wrong. They didn't cheer for anything. The only time they cheered the whole night, hour, and he broke a record for the longest address ever. The only time they cheered was about money for Ukraine. Okay, so think about that right now. Okay, we're living in an America where one political party will only cheer for foreign countries. They don't have a word for kids with cancer, not a word for women who've been raped and killed by migrants, not a word for protecting women's sports, not a word for telling children that they're in the right body and they don't have to be tormented by surgery and abuse and everything in between. But you understand that is not a party that believes government works for you. That's a party that believes you work for the government. And until they change that approach to politics, they're the ones that are going to be getting paddled everywhere they go.
And I'm out here in the real world and I know what's right or wrong or bullshit.
It is Fox Across America with Jimmy Fallon. Jason Chaffetz's in my studio, but I do believe they're playing Wild Thing in honor of his wife, Julie, who is out somewhere in the control room. She's a bit of a problem when you bring her to Fox headquarters.
It's a little dangerous.
Yeah, she gets, you get them out of Utah, they come to the big city, they get rowdy. I have the same problem with my wife, Jenny Fallon. She grew up in Ohio. In Ohio, she's fine.
Yeah.
She'll talk about the Buckeyes, the 4-H fair. You get her into New York, it's like you're getting hazed into a fraternity. I'm like, Jenny, what's going on? You can't drink champagne in my studio.
I had to kind of ease her into, like Faulkner focus, that sort of thing, and then build up to Fox Across America.
Well, the nice thing about this show is, for real, if your wife who's graciously watching from the control room, if you were to show up to this show drunk, they would think you were any different than the host. You know what I mean? I have the bar strategically positioned in a perfect place. So much so. This is real talk. Yesterday, and I feel great, so don't worry about it. Yesterday, I had to get 2 wisdom teeth pulled, right? And for 7 o'clock in the morning. But I had Stuart Varney at America Reports. Maybe I had to do Ingram. I had to do 3 hours of radio. It's a day you're going to have here at Fox. But I had made the conscious decision that I was just going to go through with it because I felt fine. And they gave me a pill. They're like, this is 500 milligrams of something. Okay, you take one of these every 8 hours. But knowing I didn't want to walk around with the pills and I was going to be gone 16 hours, I just took them both at the same time and hopped right on the air, okay? By math, okay, I took my one every 8 hours worth, spread across, whatever.
You're conservative,
But the point is, I was saying this to Sandra Smith yesterday, I was like, first of all, I'm fine. But second of all, if I wasn't, who would know? You would not know. You would not know, because the whole vibe of the show is just like, it's just kind of real, it's just kind of raw, and the superpower is that you don't have a superpower.
Were you like drooling? Did they put on a bib?
I want to admit to this. I was fine, but yesterday I never spill anything, and I spilled something yesterday because my depth perception was off. They said on the back of the pill bottle, like, don't operate heavy machinery, but they didn't say don't host radio. Did not say it. It said don't fly a plane, don't drive, don't drive a car, don't steer a train. They did not say.
But don't talk on air.
They didn't say it. I read it's bottle, so I don't know if anything. I'm not the bad guy.
And
here.
The lawyers have poured through this time and time again.
Yeah. Went right through it. So you're here. But I think if people were to retrace their media consumption footsteps yesterday, they would think the person on dental drugs were the people sitting with paddles at the State of the Union last night. No? I came off fine comparative to them, did I not?
Oh my gosh, that was such a joke. And did they not realize that people are going to take a picture of that and maybe change the word on the panels, set themselves up for Meadville?
Thank you. It's like they didn't understand the culture. If you hold up anything, okay, Trump does this all the time. If Trump signs an executive order, his supporters will, in a flattering way, Photoshop what's in the executive order. Like he had one last week that truly went viral, and it was funny. It's him holding up an executive order that said gay people aren't allowed to talk that way anymore. maybe talking about the act. It's just kind of funny, and it's not true, and it's what it was. But you have to understand the culture to know that if you're holding up a prop, people are going to do things to it to make it their own prop. So here's my question. You have been to States of the Union. You have been featured on late night shows for funny reactions to things where you were portrayed in a flattering way by Jimmy Kimmel.
I did the rim shot,
yes. Thank you.
Because he told a really lame joke.
Obama
did, and I did that, and oh my gosh, every member has a camera trained on him, and I just kind of naturally reacted, and But it turned out to be pretty funny.
But it was funny because you had a genuine reaction. But my point to yesterday is it didn't look genuine. It looked contrived.
No, it was
like
bad.
They strategize that. You don't all wind up with paddles. Like if one guy shows up with a paddle, he made a bad decision. But if 200 people show up with paddles, a conversation took place. And somebody was like, I've got it, paddles.
Yeah.
Is that strategists? Is that party leaders? I mean, we don't know this for a fact. We're just recklessly speculating here. But what would you attribute that to?
Idiocy.
Is that what it is?
They're just idiots. Yeah. I mean, they think the resistance movement is the way to go. But, you know, when you're resisting America, when you're resisting a 13-year-old who's had multiple brain surgeries, brain surgery, I mean, that's the thing is their whole brand was built on diversity, equity, and inclusion. And then when somebody has a different thought than they got to be anti. And it was just pure America. When that kid, you know, cancer victim, recovering, gives a organic high five
the next guy who gets
to the guys getting into West Point. That was as American as it gets.
That was a nice feel-good moment.
Oh, they could have sitting on their hands. I can't applaud that because Trump thought of it.
I laughed so hard because they're like, we're the party of the youth. And to prove it, here's a man shaking a cane at Donald Trump.
Yes.
And when we come back, bingo paddles for everybody. Everybody gets a bingo. I'm pretty sure they didn't clap because it would have turned out the lights on their side of the room.
And
Like
the only thing they clapped for was when, Elizabeth Warren, do you want the war to go on for 5 years? Yes. Yes. Fight in Ukraine for 5 more years.
Pocahontas. He called her Pocahontas to her face.
I don't think that was in the script, but
this is the point I make to people a lot. And this is a good life lesson. It doesn't matter what you're trying, where your ambitions lie, work, personal relationships. You can't win by simply rooting for somebody else to fail. It's not, and because there's nothing endearing about, let's say he goes up there and he does bomb, okay? That still doesn't make you more likable. You're just the person who didn't go up and bomb. You haven't actually sold yourself to the electorate. So it was such a bad strategy because when it was pretty obvious 5 minutes in that he was going to succeed, meaning he was getting laughs, the policies are popular, pivot, but there's no capability of pivot. So that back to my initial question, you said it was idiocy, but they had to have agreed that they weren't clapping no matter what, or one of them would have clapped by accident, no?
Yeah, a couple of them they were like, and they kind of caught themselves. And I think it was so wrong. Look, I've been to 10 of them. I went to Barack Obama's 8 of them. I went to 2 of Donald Trump's where you're sitting on the floor. I was there when Joe Wilson
amazing.
said.
The only time I got in the chamber was January 6th. I'm kidding. Stop it. You can laugh. He pardoned
in the chamber,
me.
huh?
I'm kidding.
Yeah, exactly. But you show respect and reverence. When the first lady walked in, I stood and applauded. When he, come on, it's just decency.
Yeah.
And people want to see adults in the room. This is not a place. Think about it. If it was a 6th grade assembly and a group of kids started doing that, what do you think the principal would do? I mean, your school may have been different than my school, but
it depends on the school district. Because if it was a liberal school district, they were going to get a drag show. If it was a 6th grade assembly, it was any minute now. Bring in Cinnabons. Come on, get them out here. Oh, excuse me, get her out here. That whole thing. Jason Chaffetz is here. We're having a grown-up talk like we do on this show. Everybody says, they're lost and they're really out of touch with the moment we find ourselves in. And I think that's true, but I think there's even a more teachable moment for the media because you saw the CBS poll. CBS trashed the speech, but their viewers love the speech. So, I mean, that should be a wake-up call that you're prioritizing the wrong things. So, but my question is, we live by this axiom that the customer is always right. I think the Democrats really think, because they're so condescending and they have this moral superiority complex, that the customer is too dumb to know better and that they're going to change the customer preference.
Yeah, that we got to decipher this for you. We got to tell you that this was bad. Come on. Donald Trump was talking about 80% issues, simple stuff, American issues. And where he was in his sweet spot is when he personified that with real stories of ordinary Americans.
Yeah.
And that whole story, I never tied it together. That he went to Butler, Pennsylvania, met with the 95-year-old. Did she not look incredible for 95 years old?
Let's talk about it. Yeah.
Talks about her son. He promises that he's gonna get him out. 10 minutes later, he's up on stage, gets shot. but then she's there in the audience. You can't applaud that. I mean, that's amazing.
They couldn't. Nothing. It was really an interesting moment for me because we always give the whole, it's cliched at this point. What unites us is greater than what divides us.
We're not the red states, the blue states. We're the United States.
But last night, all the things that unite us, they were like, nah, nah.
Who goes to the mall and prints out a T-shirt with the words "resistance" on the back? And then stands up in the middle of the speech and walks out so people can see, look what I got at the mall.
I know. It's like somebody bought Maxine Waters a cricket for Christmas. And she's like, embroidery. I'm going to make T-shirts. We're going to have hats. We'll wear them to the joint address to Congress.
It'll be awesome.
I mean, if a joint address because they look like they smoked a joint and were crippled. Like they couldn't react to anything. It was bad.
Nancy Pelosi holding onto her cane, trying to itch her face.
So hold on a second. Someone said this for real. Okay, that someone who I know who worked as a dental hygienist, Kennedy and I discussed this earlier, said she was definitely sucking on dentures to be making that face. Is that true? Or maybe you don't know.
I haven't thought about this.
I mean, you were just in Congress. You see these old people. I mean, there's some of them.
Did the Democrats, with all due respect,
yeah.
They looked really old.
That's what I mean. I said that. I'm like, you're going to tell me the party of the youth? I've seen younger faces on money. You know what I mean?
These are people that had
not good.
When I got to Congress in 2009, these people had already been there 20 years.
I know. Think about that.
And I've come and gone, and they're still there. And I'm thinking, really?
Nancy Pelosi has been in Washington since Washington. It's like it
was like when Joe Biden was there, right? He was elected in 1972. I was like 5 playing soccer.
Yeah. That's so crazy, but it's crazy to think about. And what's happening in this moment now, because there's like this realignment because social media is so much bigger than traditional media now.
Right.
And, it used to be that the NBC, CBSs, and ABCs of the world controlled like 85% of the information we consumed. But now that metric is upside down. They might control 10% of the information people consume.
Maybe.
Because of memes and social media and everything like that. So the lack of self-awareness is really killing them because they don't have it.
Well, this is like if I was on the other side, which I kind of am, I would be, I hope they all carry signs because then we could change those into memes.
Right.
That would be perfect. And then they did it. It was like, do you not understand how the internet works at this point?
Don't get the culture. To answer your question, no, they don't get it. So I thought it was great. The one thing I would take away about the go forward now, because they clearly do need like a leader that could kind of give them some type of compass.
Right.
It's not there yet. And like I know people are talking about like Stephen A. Smith went on the, Stephen A. Smith is going to win. He's not going to win either, know. And this is a wonderful fantasy. The truth is, I think he'd love to be a Republican if he could, because he's deriving so much joy from the Republican side of every argument. And even on The View yesterday, he was talking about how Trump had a mandate, and even though they could say he didn't, but he did.
He was good on that.
Yeah, but those aren't the words of a guy who wants to run, who aligns with the Democratic Party right now. But for the Democratic Party to be viable again, they have to go. What percentage would you say to the center from where they are right now? Because they're polling at 21% as a party, so they're that far left.
Yeah, you can. Anybody could get 21%. I don't care what it is. They're going to show up and say 21% is going to go the other direction. They have miles to go. They're nowhere. There's nobody even on the horizon. Mm-hmm. And this is the magic of Donald Trump. Mm-hmm. It's a combination of authenticity and a true vision for where he wants. It's like all leadership. Mm-hmm. And think about it. He gave that speech last night as if he'd been in office for 4 years.
Yeah.
Not just 40 days.
That is true.
And that is what he said being able to accomplish. Now, Congress can kill that and wipe that out pretty quick.
Yeah.
Because they got a big vote a week from Friday on funding the government. Mm-hmm. They think they're going to do a continuing resolution. I don't think that's going to be that easy.
Yeah.
And then they got reconciliation. Mm-hmm. And if the president isn't able to get those two over the line, and it shouldn't be all Donald Trump all the time. Yeah. Congress it's a team sport.
Yeah.
They better figure that equation out. So
yeah, they are kind of in a weird way asking him to make too many plays right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they've got to get behind and put their money where their mouth is. But I think you know this probably better than anybody. There's a lot of posturing even on the Republican side of this because they're not completely on board with it. They just don't want to incur the wrath of it. So you find creative ways to kind of slow roll it, right?
And Elon, I hear, has got some money.
Yeah.
And he has some resources. And if people want to face primaries, which is what most people are concerned about, they're not as concerned about the general as they are primaries. Yeah. And that's what they're really afraid of. So go ahead and get out of line. You're going to be primary and you're going to see some big money come after you.
You heard it. that Dogecoin coming your way, some of those Tesla bucks. And have you seen last, and we could kind of leave it here because I know you got to get your wife out of the bar. I just got the same text. They're like, Julie's doing it again. And you get her back on it's got to be a Delta flight out of here or something. Who brought her back to New York? We told you not to bring her back to New York. She really doesn't drink
that
again.
often, I promise.
Of course she doesn't. It's just fun
I think
radio.
Ever, but yeah.
It's actually just fun radio. It's totally fun. But stick with me. The whole idea that last night, especially with Doge, when Trump was talking about, the days of unelected bureaucrats running the country are over, I think that is the most primal threat he poses in Washington. Because traditionally, we like to say elections have consequences and kind of rub that in Obama's nose when the Democrats don't like something.
Exactly. He's the one that said
But the consequences aren't as big if that shadow government of bureaucracy can slow roll whoever's agenda is trying to be installed. So isn't that the more primal threat to the Democratic Party than any individual thing they might have refused to cheer last night?
It is. This idea that the bureaucracy, there's a very quick story. When I went to Congress, I heard about this legendary time where a member of Congress went to go meet with the cabinet secretary. Cabinet secretary wasn't there. It's just senior staff. And the member of Congress got up and said, I'm leaving. This is ridiculous. I didn't come to meet with the B team. I came to meet with this cabinet secretary. Finally, the senior staff calmed him down a little bit and said, it's true, we're the senior staff, we're not the secretary. We are the B team. But you know what? We be here before you, we be here after you, and we be the ones to actually make the decisions around it. And that is so true. That is so true.
This guy reads something off a prompter every 3 weeks and is doing nothing. And that's probably the reality of most of this.
Yeah.
That's why you hang out with Jason Chaffetz. He lets you stand behind the magician. You see where the rabbit goes. You see how he guessed your card. So you're basically telling me every card in the deck was an ace of clubs and the magician wasn't that good.
Except Oz the Mentalist.
Yo, he's back on my show April 25th. Have you seen him before?
I've only seen him on Instagram, and he is unbelievable.
He did a trick on my show.
I do not get it.
He did a trick on my show that was so profound that we tried to set him on fire because he's a witch.
Guys like that scare the crap out of me.
I didn't even enjoy it. We were like, what is this? It was good.
I want to see him. I want to meet him.
No, I don't know that you do, but April 25th, he's going to tell you things on my show. So thanks for that plug. The great Jason Chaffetz, everybody. We got to go bail out Julie. We'll be back after this. This one's going to be a mess. I'm just telling you now. They're all kind of messy. Like, we do hand out ponchos when this next guest is in studio. It's a full SeaWorld situation. There's a splash zone. It's like going to see Louis C.K. and sitting in the front row. Kennedy's here now to yuck it up.
Especially when it's just you and Louis.
Yeah, if you think the audience gets it bad.
SeaWorld, Gallagher, and Steve Aoki when he's throwing out the cake.
At a SeaWorld show, if you sit in the front, you can touch the animals. At a Louis show, you can watch the animals touch themselves. It's me world. It's me world. But he is not the comedian.
Live and let cry, they call it.
He is not the comedian making headlines. It was the Trumpster who got a lot of laughs last night and the Democrats who got a lot of unintentional laughs out of it. But my question to you, and you know this to be true, is that was a plan. Like, someone got together, whether it was a political strategist, whether it was a Democratic Party, and was like, I've got it, paddles. Okay, that was a predetermined strategy that they thought would work. And
that was planned by an old person who, like Ted Stevens, thinks the internet is a series of tubes.
But what they don't get is, like, you've got to be so far out of touch with the culture to think that could possibly end well for you, because if you're holding up any object, it becomes photoshoppable for memes.
Yes.
And we were 5 minutes into that speech and we had collectively consumed 10 million memes already.
Yes. And, it's like even Donald Trump's executive orders, like those become, I've got one that says, let's go Rangers. There was one on X that said, gay people are no longer allowed to talk that way. It's like, you can put literally anything on there and, it's like the more outrageous, the better. But it's like, I heart war. Yeah. I hate women. Like, all those things went on the paddles because they're dumb and they don't deserve to be taken seriously.
Yeah, that's the point. And it's like, there's so many angles you can come at this from, and people are obviously upset that they didn't clap for the kid with cancer, and there's the Nicole Wallace thing I want to get to. But it all starts with a basic premise that they had decided on this ahead of time. We're not clapping for anything. We're holding up panels to voice our
Yeah, and Rashida Tlaib was all of a sudden Karl Rove. Just like scribbling stuff down in her unhinged handwriting.
Yeah, Elizabeth Warren got called Pocahontas to her face, which was funny.
Yes, in front of all of her colleagues. And JD Vance going back and forth between he was eyeballing the crowd like he was like a hockey goon, like looking for who he was going to fight first. It wasn't if he was going to fight. It was like who was going to be first. And, he dropped the gloves. And then his face would crinkle up because he was laughing so hard at Trump's asides.
He was laughing. When Trump talked about old people getting Social Security.
Yeah, there are 130,000 people, 160 years old plus. And he looks and goes, our country's a lot healthier than I thought, Bobby. That was funny. Hysterical.
Sedentary migrants. Nobody knows what that is. It was funny. He legitimately, and this is the problem. Like if you're sitting there in opposition to a speech that is getting laughs and getting powerful applause breaks, you look out of touch with the consumer. Like
when they're singing na 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 hey 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 goodbye, like someone who's ejected from a football game.
Yeah.
You've lost. When you put your guy up there, and it reminded me of Aladdin when Jafar's staff turns into a snake. And I'm like, how dumb is Al Green? Like, this is a president who's almost been assassinated twice.
Yeah.
Like, no one is screwing around here.
Listen.
Like, I don't think Al Green is going to hurt him, but I think, it's like Secret Service doesn't care.
They're going to throw you out?
Yeah.
Listen, we're the party of the youth. I've got it. We'll have an old man shake his cane.
Yeah.
And then bingo paddles. It was unbelievable. I did surmise last night.
And then we'll all wear pink. I mean, I'm wearing pink today because I love pink. We'll all wear pink because vagina.
A day after they had voted unanimously to let men compete in women's sports. They're just they're just idiots. There's no self-awareness.
Let's do it, you guys.
It's also like I've been making
Here's a woman who was paralyzed and missed out on an opportunity to get a full ride scholarship to college because a man on an opposing volleyball team spiked the ball in her face.
And nearly killed a woman.
Yeah. It's like,
Nothing
more
for
of
her.
that, please. More war. Can we kill some Ukrainians with our money?
Come on! And we made this point on a podcast that was on the other day called Kennedy Saves the World.
Great podcast.
People love the podcast. They have issues with the host, but who doesn't? Okay. But we're on Kennedy Saves the World.
Keycard still works.
We're saving the world. There it is. And it does still work. We're saving the world. And we were talking about this. When it comes to Ukraine, you can admit Putin's one of the worst people alive.
It's awful.
But also
I hate
admit
commies. I feel
Ukraine
like
is corrupt and the war's a waste of money and life. You can do both.
So you thought that Ukraine, that it had that Soviet level corruption. Like we just got tests back from our house in Pacific Palisades, and because of the wildfires, it's filled with lead.
Yeah.
Really hard to
Not
clean
ideal.
lead out of your stuff. It's like Ukraine and the corruption.
Yeah.
Like it is just blanketed with corruption. And, they thought they'd vacuum it, throw a little shellac on it and call it good.
Yeah.
It's like, no, it's baked into what Ukraine is. It's still a corrupt place.
Yep.
And we've given them essentially a blank check.
Yeah.
And they have nothing to show for it.
And it doesn't mean we like Putin, ladies and gentlemen. Putin bad. Ukraine corrupt.
Yes.
War unnecessary.
Like those two things actually combine to make an even worse situation.
Really bad.
That, should we continue funding it? Well, if you're Elizabeth Warren, war is in your last name. So apparently, yes, you love civilians getting killed.
War paint. I mean, she was clapping for more war.
I was surprised she didn't start doing the tomahawk chop for Ukraine.
When it comes to war, she has no reservations. I don't know what to tell you. Come on, everybody. They're just flying out of our mouths. April 19th, we're going to be in Mohican, Pennsylvania. How about that?
I can't wait.
Kennedy
the
and I.
Slots and Sluts tour.
Slots and Sluts.
Making its first stop of the year.
Jimmy with the slots. Kennedy with, hey, we're back on,
everyone.
We're back on the air. Slots and Sluts, April 19th, Mohican, Pennsylvania. If you go to their website, you can get tickets right now. You can get them at Fox Across America.
Why would you? There's a meet and greet?
There's a meet and greet.
I know we're running out of slots, as it were, in the meet and greet.
No, just to be clear.
Still going to be sluts.
We're not. Wouldn't it be funny? It's actually like a meet and greet. You hand us a piece of steak and we wave and you get out. No, we didn't mean meat. We're not hanging out with you.
MEAT. You give us choice cuts. We give you the finger.
Yeah. At the Slots and Slut store. That's how it works, okay? It's April 19th. You better go. Mohegan, Pennsylvania. But there was nothing funnier than what I watched last night. And the Nicole Wallace thing, which, have you seen that clip yet with her trying to tie the kid in cancer to January 6th?
I've only read a quote from what she said.
It's worth a visit for no other reason than this. And this is a teachable moment for everyone in every aspect of your life. Okay, it has nothing to do with politics. It has nothing to do with analysis on TV. I'm going to play the clip. Okay, but when you're operating from a place of emotion, it renders you unable to have self-awareness. You don't reflect. You don't go, hey, do I sound crazy? Is this a dumb idea? Am I going to discredit myself intellectually? You know, this moment right here, listen to how it starts, because it starts like, all right, she's going to pick a battle. It sounds like she's going to pick a battle on the kid with cancer and takes quite a turn. Clip 13.
I think this was a lesson in finding one thing that you let yourself feel. And I let myself feel joy about DJ, and I hope he's alive for another, 95 years, right? And I hope he lives.
Stop right there, you win.
And the life he wants to live. He wants to be a cop. He knows what he wants to do. And maybe when you have childhood cancer, that crystallizes for you. And I hope he has a long life as a law enforcement officer. But I hope he never has to defend the United States Capitol against Donald Trump's supporters. And if he does, I hope he isn't one of the 6 who loses his life to suicide. And I hope he isn't one who has to testify against the people who carried out acts of seditious conspiracy and then live to see Donald Trump pardon those people.
So that was quite a right turn. She's obviously a super moron because the kid's 13 years old. Trump will be out of office when he's 17 years old. He's not actually a Secret Service agent.
I don't know if she got the memo.
That was a nice, feel-good kind of Make-A-Wish moment.
They didn't hand him a gun and a badge.
No.
And
they did not. And Donald Trump has already done one term. This is his second term.
Yeah.
And, he's really popular right now, but it's going to be tough to amend the Constitution. But that's what we're going with Nicole Wallace's horrific line of reasoning. And it's like, did someone get in her ear like, you're being too nice, January 6th, January 6th now, pivot.
But you want to know what happened? This is who got in her head. I agree with that. That's so funny. She got in her head. She was, what this means to me is she was watching this in real time. And was like, good moment for Trump here. What's the workaround? And in her head was like, I've got it. January's other cops. Things Trump has done to other cops, which there's no tie-in. This is like, again, a moment where you're supposed to pick your battles. If you just sit there, which is why I thought last night the better move for them would have been to not go. Because if you just sit there and don't give this kid his due, don't give Laken Riley's mom his due, Jocelyn Nungary's mom her due, you can just stay home.
Okay, but we need to focus on two things, and that's why and I am not blowing smoke up Trump's hiney hole. I don't do that for any president, but the fact that he renamed a wildlife refuge for a 12-year-old girl who loves animals, who was brutally murdered.
Yeah.
Like that, I was crying when he said that. I was like, what a beautiful thing to tell her mom. And then the kid who came from 4 generations of people who served honorably in the military, including his dad. His dad was an LA County Sheriff's deputy and lost his life. To tell the kid, all he wanted to do is go to West Point, to tell him at this joint address that he got accepted to West Point. I mean, my domestic partner is a West Pointer.
True story.
And that was, there were high fives. We were hooting and hollering.
Excited.
That was such an incredible moment.
And sweet DJ Daniel, who had just been named a Secret Service agent, high-fived that kid.
That was so sweet. He went over and high-fived Jason. I was like, God, this is... The guy's a freaking... And after the Al Green thing, I was like, Linda McMahon is producing this. Like, I can't wait till babyface Mike Johnson makes his heel turn, because that's going to be fun.
He's going to hit Trump with a steel chair.
Yeah.
What's even happening? I'm talking to Kennedy, by the way. You could talk to Kennedy. April 19th, Mohegan, Pennsylvania.
Talk to me. Maybe I'll blow you off. It'll be great.
It's going to be amazing. Meet and greet. You drop off a piece of steak, wave, and get out of here. Don't talk. Don't ask us to sign anything. That would be so funny. Oh, no. We meant MEAT. We meant M-E. No, not meat. No. Hold on a second here. But it's fascinating to me because what happened after the show is, of course, when it was a show, to be fair, the polling at CBS said 76% of their viewers liked it. CBS did not like it. The pundits did not like it. And what I'm fascinated by is we're living in this moment. We always say like they're living in a bubble. I don't know that they're in a bubble. I think they're aware that his values are popular. I just think they're living in a mindset where the customer isn't always right. And because we are intellectually and morally superior, it's our job to change the customer preference because they can't be dumb enough to watch that speech and not think it went over well.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But Joe Biden never could have carried off that speech. Kamala Harris never could have carried off that speech. And she never would have been able to make the impromptu asides, talk for as long as he did, and also shine a light on different people in the room. She never, ever would have been able to do that. Yeah.
Scary stuff, man. And I will tell you, by the end of it, he was telling jokes when he talked about, no one's ever heard of that country and got a laugh. It was like, you have to be able to riff to do that. That's a guy who your material, but you're in the moment and you can riff.
That's also a guy who likes to make his friends laugh.
Yeah, for sure. And does it, though. Yeah. Like, that's a genuine laugh. They're not giving him, like, a courtesy laugh. It was actually funny. And he got a laugh in the chamber. And that's the part that I just find fascinating. It's like they have to know how far out of touch they are with the rest of the country. But there's this part of me that just wonders if they don't get it. And what I mean, and I'll run this by you. So traditionally, the flow of political information that went through these mainstream outlets, okay, they probably controlled 85% of the political information we consumed. Social media has kind of turned that metric upside down. And I don't think they realize, how limited their reach is in this moment. And maybe they don't understand how far outgunned they are in like the court of public opinion. Because, they were advancing these reactions last night. Rachel Maddow was trying to make the claim that Trump inherited a phenomenal economy and now he's wrecking it. Yeah. And it's like no serious person is watching that and agreeing. So maybe they don't get it. I don't know. My point is, I have been at a loss of words all day. They're
not doing an honest post-mortem. Mm-hmm. They haven't come to terms with it, and they don't have a strategy going forward. And at this rate, they never will. And they're not going to have Trump to campaign against in the future. And that's they had it. And it almost worked in 2016. It did work in 2020. It did not work in 2024. And that's the part of the cycle that we're living in, and they're still stuck in 2016.
The dog keeps barking, but the circus leaves town. That whole analogy, that's where they are. They're barking, but the people packing up the rides in the tents don't even acknowledge the dog on the side of the highway.
We want our money back from the old dead people.
Yeah, I mean, seriously. The bearded lady wasn't half the kisser we were told she was by the guy outside the tent. I was duped. You know what we should do with our show? Instead of doing our acts individually, maybe we'll just come out and sit down and have a post-mortem for the Democratic Party. It would be funny. Yeah. Like, how could we fix them?
You think Nancy Pelosi will? She didn't look good last night.
She was, it's funny, somebody who I know who works in dentistry said she was absolutely sucking on dentures.
She was sucking on her. I wrote dental work for the Daily Mail.
Did you say that? That's
I said
great.
Dental work, but she had a sourpuss the whole night.
The whole night.
And she was so mad. She's not on the dais. She can't rip up the speech. Yeah. She has no power.
Yeah, like why was she even there? Like that, there's got to be a part of her that regrets sticking around. Can you not get these stock tips unless you're in her position? Like I would imagine they still get the stock tips, no?
I think you have to have access. You have to have access to the intel.
Wow. Well, I will say this.
Very lucrative. I wish I had the access to the intel. Yeah, because it never occurred to me, like insider trading.
Yeah.
That's where the money is.
Legalized insider trading. And what they do is they offshore all of that money to make the animals transgender in the forest. And while we're looking this way, they're buying stock in whatever medicine the owl's going to need.
Yeah, they're shorting NVIDIA.
Listen, I'm down to rip up a Trump speech a year for that kind of stock portfolio. Sign me up, Democrat. Congrats. Sign yourself up. Kennedy, Jimmy Kennedy, any order you prefer us in. Laughs and Liberty, Slots and Sluts, April 19th.
It's all happening April 19th. We'll see you in Mohegan, Pennsylvania.
Until then.
Get her out. Get her out of here.